Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss the longest government shutdown in American history finally coming to its end. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details of the deal that was reached or who got the better end of it. Instead, I'm going to give you my take on this whole mess from start to finish. First off, to House and Senate Democrats, now that the government's reopened, stop pretending that you actually give about American healthcare. Hell, you literally campaigned against RFK Jr., the guy whose slogan was, "Make America Healthy Again." But I digress. Just last year, the US government, including state governments, spent over $900 billion on Medicaid. Now, I'm not an expert on things like Medicaid or Obamacare, but let's evaluate what you, the taxpayers, get in return for your investment. Your premiums go up every year and insurance companies still deny coverage like every other day. The rates of diabetes, heart disease, and obesity have more than doubled, as have, sadly, mental health disorders and depression. So that being said, why are Democrats so stuck on the idea that throwing money at the issue, say by taxing the rich, will just magically solve the problem? What are their actual concerns? Well, for one, most of them accept campaign donations from pharmaceutical companies who, in return, get a piece of that $900 billion after our politicians vote to send them your money. Then many of those same politicians, Republicans included, might I add, buy the stocks of these pharmaceutical companies, whose valuations go up after receiving set taxpayer funds, or what's also known as ding, ding, ding! Insider trading. You know who that reminds me of, actually? I don't know, there's this old woman in California who's been in the government since, like, the beginning of time. I just can't seem to remember what her name is. Maybe you guys could just Google it and remind me. And finally, most important of all, Democrats needed this shutdown as an excuse to score political points against Donald Trump, all while most of them get rich at the expense of playing games with the lives of everyday Americans. They kept throwing around the term Trump shutdown while all 53 Republicans in the Senate voted to reopen the government. 15 times to be exact, until 7 Democrats decided to break away from their own party and vote with Republicans to reopen the government. That small group, including senators like John Fetterman, come from states like Pennsylvania that can swing Republican or Democrat any given election year. So they actually have to have a spine because they can be held accountable by their voters. Whereas the rest of them can just ride the blue wave in states like New York and California with legitimately zero consequences. And while I acknowledge that some Americans are going to lose their healthcare as a result of cutting spending, we need to stop pretending that throwing more money at the problem will just solve the situation. There isn't even enough money that exists to pay for universal healthcare. And the rest of us are just going to be left in crippling debt, sky-high inflation, and to no actual change in affordability. So what are some of the steps we could take towards an actual solution? Well, for starters, there's about 20 million illegal immigrants in the country, and God knows how many of them are getting healthcare that actual American citizens need. So putting a stop to illegal immigration and repurposing those resources towards the 15 million Americans who Democrats say desperately need it might not be the worst idea. Of course, we could also do things to actually make people healthier so less people need healthcare. Things like removing ingredients from our foods that are linked to cancers and other diseases, which of course need clinical studies, but thankfully, the guy who Democrats vehemently hate, RFK Jr., is already on top of it. We could also bring back the presidential fitness test so that kids who sit on their phones all day need to actually meet fitness standards so they could pass their gym classes. Fun fact, by the way, it was President Obama that signed an executive order just 10 years ago to remove the presidential fitness test from school curriculums. That was until President Trump last year signed an executive order to bring back the presidential fitness test, which over the course of the next 2 years is hopefully going to be reinstated in most schools across the country. So anyways, I hope you'll remember this video the next time you go vote for your senator or congressman. That'll be in 2026 to be exact. And use your God-given right to get common sense back into the government. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.